Some people are naturally hardcore muggers, and that's great. But truth is, most people, including me, aren't like that. We want to have fun and we're not disciplined 100% of the time. That's why I really love hacks that help us cut down our studying time and make our life easier. So here are 8 truths about studying I wish I knew earlier. If you don't know who I am, my name is Keefe and I started ThatBioTutor. We teach O-level pure bio students how to ace the subject while making their lives a lot easier. Finish homework the day it's given as far as possible. The reason for this is that it's already fresh in your mind, the teacher has mentioned what to do, and it's usually related to the lesson you had on that day. So the longer you put off the homework, the less efficient you'll actually be when you finally get to it. Here's the secret to scoring really high for science MCQ papers. Ready? Do all the TYS paper ones. It's so fast to do MCQ papers compared to the rest of the papers, so why won't you finish it? Plus, you have a lot more time during the end of O's period, so don't slack off. It makes you more familiar with the types of questions they can throw at you, so you'll be much more prepared. For example, you see this one here? It's basically the same question again and again throughout the years, just asked in slightly different ways. Lastly, doing a lot of questions will reveal your gaps in content, so you can patch those up before taking the actual paper. Okay, so this next one is specific to bio diagrams. How do I easily memorize all the parts of difficult bio diagrams like the eye? Tip number 1 is actually what I do with my students for this topic. I will draw the diagram from scratch with them. It helps you know exactly which part is where, so you will do well in those labeling questions. Even if it's super ugly, it doesn't matter, it will work, just try it. Tip number 2 is that as you're drawing it out, ask yourself, what is the purpose of each part that I'm drawing? Why must it be here? Why does it exist? For example, why must the lens be flexible? So that it can change shape and then change the focusing distance. Why must photoreceptors exist? So that we can see, right? Ask yourself these things as you're drawing it out from scratch, and it will help you with memorizing all the parts. Don't be like that one person who takes down everything the teacher says and every single word on the slides. We know that's not a good idea, so how should you actually take notes? Number 1, things that the teacher says, take this down. Maybe it's a commonly tested question, so you should put a big star around it. Number 2, things that you actually didn't know until the teacher said it. Along with that, you can write down questions that you want to clarify later. Number 3, unfamiliar points. By the way, you can know something and still be unfamiliar with that point. You know yourself best, and the exercise of writing these down will actually help you with your memory. Study smart, then hard. I always did the least number of practice papers when studying for bio exams, but I still scored A. The secret is quality over quantity. Here are 3 tips to extract maximum benefit you can from each paper that you do. First, understand all of your wrong answers, which is quite obvious. Second is to really understand the questions, not just the answers. Leave no stone unturned. Even if the question is some application question and they bring in this disease that you've never heard about, Google that disease and get some understanding of it. This will put you at an advantage in case a similar thing comes out in the exam. And third is to understand all your correct answers, because sometimes we guess and we get lucky. From now on, when you're doing a practice paper, circle the question and put a question mark if you're unsure about it, so that even if you get lucky, you will come back and you will properly understand why that answer is correct. Warning, this might trigger you. This is to those students who say that they want to score well, but they're always procrastinating and they never bring themselves to do the work. What's really going on is that one part of your brain wants to score well, but the other part of your brain really doesn't want to sacrifice. See, it subconsciously knows that in order to get that result, you will need to sacrifice, you will need to put in time, effort, and it's hard work. So you're not willing to sacrifice watching your shows, going out more with your friends, etc. That's why you're having this internal struggle. The only solution out of this is to get real with yourself. Ask yourself, what do I need to do to get me that result? And am I willing to sacrifice to get there? If the answer is yes, then good, you found your motivation. If the answer is no, then in my opinion, it's better to accept that, hey, I'm not willing to sacrifice, and so I won't be disappointed when I don't get the result because I made my choice. Some of you watching this right now probably think that you're not smart enough to score A1. Let's say you're trying to make a very nice chocolate cake. So you follow this very good recipe, and assuming you followed the recipe all the way, even if you're not smart, even if you're not a genius chef, you can still produce an excellent cake. The same thing applies to studying. It doesn't matter if you're not super smart. You can still score A1 if you follow the recipe. There is a formula and a recipe to memorizing and to answering OEQs and to scoring full marks. And that's what I teach in my classes. So remember, studying is just like baking a cake. If you follow the right recipe, even though you're not super smart, you can still score the A1. I was not a perfect student. There were times where I was late for class, where I didn't pay attention, where I didn't do the homework, and I didn't study properly for a test. I procrastinated, I wasn't always disciplined, just like you. And yet, I scored all A's in my A levels. So how I did that is similar to the principle of going to the gym and exercising. We don't make it to the gym every single session. Sometimes we miss sessions, sometimes we just have a bad day. But overall, if 75% of the time you do what you're supposed to do, you will still see huge progress overall. So it's a similar principle with studying. I was not perfect, and you probably feel that way about yourself too. But the good news is, if you are consistent most of the time, you will still see tremendous results. If this video was helpful to you, please hit the like and subscribe, I really appreciate it. Also, help us to get to 1000 subscribers so that I can disable all the annoying YouTube ads. YouTube has this requirement that you need 1k subs, then you can do that. So please help me out, and that's a promise that once we reach that, I will remove YouTube ads forever from our videos. If you like our free Pure Bio notes, or you want to sign up for a trial lesson, then just click the link in the description.